a couple years ago, we were in Columbus, and there was this family, mom, dad, a daughter, and 2 sons. And the boys were both autistic, and the mother described them as such. And she described one of them as nonverbal. And he was in his phone. You know, when he walked up, he was just like in his phone, and he had headphones on, and was just watching Phineas and Ferb. And the mom was like, "Hey, I hate to ask, but do you guys mind doing the voices for the boys? Because otherwise they don't really know who you are." And so I rattled off like a, "Oh, there you are, Perry," or something like that. And then Vincent gave him, "I know what we're going to do today, right?" And the kid who's in his phone, as soon as Vincent does that, he goes, and Vincent keeps talking to him. And the kid like comes up to Vincent and like reaches out and grabs his face, and the mom is like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And Vincent's like, it's fine. And he keeps talking to the kid in the Phineas voice. And the kid talks back. This kid who his mom had described him as nonverbal begins to speak to Vincent. And I got up, I went, "I'll be back. I'll be right back."
Welcome back, friends. Today we're in Minneapolis for Twin Cities Con 2025. Our guest today is a voice actor who's worked on what feels like countless projects, including Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Sonic, The Walking Dead, and many, many more. But perhaps most notable is the fact that he's the current voice of the iconic character Ferb from the hit show Phineas and Ferb. Welcome to the show, David Errigo Jr.
Thanks for having me. Did you say Sonic?
You're listed somewhere on IMDb as something with Sonic.
Oh, they also think that I was born in Great Falls, Montana, and I wasn't.
Oh, where are you born then?
I was born in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
That's not even close.
No.
Did you just go to school in Montana? Is that why
high school and college. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry.
No,
Sonic,
that's okay.
But there's many. You gotta. So I interviewed somebody else a long time ago from my town, and I asked her about what it felt like having an IMDb page because people from Eau Claire, Wisconsin, don't get one, and she was like, "You have to do that yourself."
No.
You have a manager then that does it, but
no,
like they don't just create
people
it for
do
you,
it.
do they?
Yeah, I mean, you can get your own IMDb Pro membership, and then you're adding like your specific photos that you want up there, or those kind of details. You manage your representation and things like that. But for there to be an IMDb page, no, it's a community-run database, kind of like Wikipedia. Like Wikipedia, yeah. Wow. Which is why you get a fair amount of like incorrect credits.
Sure. I mean, it's easy when you have like literally hundreds. It feels like. Okay, so in your own words, who are you and what are you passionate about?
I am someone who is incredibly grateful to get to live the life that he lives and do the job that he does. I'm passionate about advocacy for union actors. I'm passionate about improving the dubbing space from a union standpoint in particular. I used to be the chair of the SAG-AFTRA dubbing committee. I'm passionate about creating great characters. I'm passionate about honoring the legacy of characters. So someone like Ferb, right? I don't just want to do it. I want to do it and give it justice. I want to take the time. I mean, I watched all of the show multiple times over before ever being involved in it. So I'm really passionate about that kind of character integrity. Which might stem from having worked for Disney Cruise Line, and they do a whole, you get a lot of training in character integrity with the company in that sort of setting. Gosh, I am a fun-loving fellow who loves his family and his fiance and his dog Winnie, and that's funny. It's funny that the broadness of the question, who are you, has my mind just like going, oh, how do you answer that question?
That's why I love to ask it, because really, otherwise, what happens in a lot of podcasts is people start to ask you the same questions everyone asks.
What's your favorite episode?
Yeah, you just like go into autopilot, and then
Yeah.
you're hardly even thinking about what you're saying. So when I catch someone with that at the beginning, they're like, "Oh, I haven't really thought about that."
Yeah,
Usually
it's like you
ask
pull
what I do for a living.
the lawnmower cable and start the brain.
Yeah. Okay. So we are at Twin Cities Con. I know you've been doing a lot of conventions and stuff. I don't know how long you've been doing conventions for, but what is your favorite experience at a convention? Like your favorite memory from a convention?
My favorite is we were in Columbus a couple of years ago, and we've been doing these now pretty consistently for about 3 years, because Vincent reached out a few years ago. He had been doing some cons, and I guess his rep was like, hey, it'll be easier for me to book you if I can get you as a pair.
Phineas and Ferb.
That'll be great. And I had always kind of thought, like, I don't want to do cons until I'm asked to do cons. You know, I don't want to put myself there and then just be sitting with no interest.
Sure.
So I wanted sort of the space to ask me to go, rather than me to be like, can I come? Nothing against anybody who was really passionate about doing cons, but that just seemed like a good way to balance for me.
Yeah.
So he got me in, and that's how I started doing the conventions. But anyway, a couple years ago, we were in Columbus, and there was this family, mom, dad, a daughter, and 2 sons. And the boys were both autistic, and the mother described them as such, and she described one of them as nonverbal. And he was in his phone. You know, when he walked up, he was like in his phone, and he had headphones on, and was just watching Phineas and Ferb. And the mom was like, hey, I hate to ask, but do you guys mind doing the voices for the boys? Because otherwise they don't really know who you are. And so I rattled off like a, oh, there you are, Perry, or something like that. And then Vincent gave him, I know what we're going to do today, right? And the kid who's in his phone, as soon as Vincent does that, he goes, and Vincent keeps talking to him. And the kid like comes up to Vincent and like reaches out and grabs his face, and the mom is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And Vincent's like, it's fine. And he keeps talking to the kid in the Phineas voice. And the kid talks back. This kid, who his mom had described him as nonverbal, begins to speak to Vincent. And I got up, I went, I'll be back. I'll be right back. I step away and compose myself before I was able to re-engage with this family. Because it was so, I don't know, it's that thing of like, this is why you do this.
Yeah.
Because it can, I think any of us who have done this for a little while have a day or two in our journey where we go, what am I even doing? What is the value of like what I'm doing in the world?
Yeah.
And stories like that are, it's the people who come up to the table and say, you know, your show got me through a very difficult time, or this is the only thing that me and my dad ever connected on. We would sit down and watch your show. It's like, oh, well, all right. I have the best job in the world. I get to bring people together, and it's one of the best things about Phineas and Ferb is that like cross-generational viability.
Yeah.
Because we have folks who come up to the table and they're talking about how they started with the show when they were kids, and now they're showing it to their kids. We have grandparents coming and being like, oh my gosh, we would watch this when the kids would go home. We'd still put on the Phineas and Ferb, and we just watch the heck out of that.
Yeah.
We love it so much. Man, that Dr. Doofenshmirtz, you know, or whatever. And I don't know, it's very lucky. So that is probably my very favorite memory at a con, because it was just such an example of like, what you're doing means something.
Yeah, getting to actually connect with the people, because otherwise a lot of your time, I gotta assume, after the pandemic is just spent in a little booth, right?
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah, I mean, that was happening a lot pre-pandemic too, because a lot of your time is just auditions, right?
Right.
And with the structure of the industry as it is now, you're not even going into to the studio to audition. You're sending in MP3s from home. So that was for the last several years. It used to be that they would hold these big auditions and you'd see all your friends, and even as late as like 2017, 2018, the voice caster in Burbank, they would hold auditions, and you'd all go and sit in the lobby and go in one after the other and do your read for some commercial.
Yeah.
And I miss that. I miss that terribly.
But you don't miss doing a bunch of commercials instead of being in cartoons, do you?
I don't. I don't.
So,
honestly, I love the work that I get. And I was never like primarily a commercial actor. I was always aiming at animation.
You just took the jobs you could get at the first.
Of course, and I still do.
Sure.
I just did. I was traveling because my future sister-in-law, so my fiance's sister, was getting married in Ireland. So I flew over there, and there was this audition that I had sent before I left with a file label not available. And as I was on my way, my agents got a message that was like, "How unavailable? Do we mean like won't be able to go into studios, or didn't travel with any equipment? Because if he traveled with some equipment, we think he'd be a really good fit." And it was this MLB commercial. They did these talking dog ads.
Okay.
And the copy was something along the lines of like, "That's Gus Judge, Aaron Judge's dog. He gets to treat that stadium like his own backyard. Oh, my master, he eats handfuls of shredded cheddar. That's Gus Judge. His owner is Aaron Judge, captain of the Yankees. His dog park is Yankee Stadium. My human, he eats shredded cheese by the handful." Like, it's this dog wishing he was Gus Judge. And that was as recent as August. I did that commercial. So I'll still do commercials when they come across. Absolutely. And if it's a character-driven commercial, I really love it, because then I get to, just do something unusual. There was a State Farm commercial a number of years ago where they were having a good play on like, there's one of those guys who does the basketball announcing, right? And he's got this great resonant voice, much more than I'm even giving it credit for. And so he's like doing the tail end of a broadcast, and it cuts off, and then cut to my voice coming out of his body. And he's like, "So Mike, how was that today?" And it's just this stupid sounding voice. And you're like, oh, that's clever. But things like that draw me in more than, your standard, just like, "Come down to the store and pick up 6 cell phones." I'll do it.
I'll do that.
Happy to do it.
I do that on the radio.
Yeah. But if I'm doing character work and big, bold characters in particular, that's probably where I'm in my, pig in mud, as it were.
You on your IMDb, it says, which now we know is not correct necessarily. It said that your first one that you did was some anime. Charger Girl Juden Chan played Kenta for 12 episodes in 2009. That's what it says.
Oh, okay.
But then it says, at least on there, that there wasn't any other roles listed till 2012. Were you doing much for voice acting, or was it just commercials?
No, I really wasn't doing much for voice acting until 2011, 2012. The reason that Charger Girl Juden Chen looks like it's so much earlier, excuse me, is because that's when the original production happened, and then the dub happened much later. The dub happened, I want to say,
but you were on the
2015. Dub. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So even though that credit is listed earlier,
You didn't actually record it till like 2012.
yeah, not till like 2015.
2015.
Yeah, it was like right before I left New York.
So how different are the three different ones that you do? So you do English dubbing for anime. You're like a lot of characters across a lot of different animes, which is crazy. And especially when you're like multiple characters in one show. It's like, dang, dude, you get to play a lot. But then an English cartoon like Ferb, and then you also do video games. How different are each of those jobs? They're all like record by yourself situations?
Primarily. I mean, the group record has unfortunately largely gone the way of the dinosaur.
Not even you and Vincent get to record together? Bummer, dude.
But he's my best friend, so I see him daily.
How long did it take before you guys became besties?
When we really started doing the conventions more regularly, it was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then with all that travel came a lot more like, conversational intimacy. Like you get to know somebody that much better, and like you have somebody start to lean on you. I leaned on him as my, marriage was ending. I leaned on him as my dog was passing away, and he's leaned on me through some relationship stuff. We just you spend enough time around somebody and you care about them, you just start to really sort of build. I have said in the past too, like when you travel with someone, it's either going to solidify or separate.
Yeah. Same way with like having a roommate or something.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, what are the biggest differences between doing those different types of work?
Dubbing is probably the most unique, right? Because you are you're working to a completed product. So someone else has already done the job for a different market. So let's use anime, for example. Somebody in Japan has already voiced it, likely in Japanese. And you get to see what the animators have created based off of that initial performance, and you get to hear that initial performance. So with anime dubbing, with dubbing generally, you have a sort of template that you're trying to sort of, if you're the puzzle piece, you're trying to mold into the slot.
Because even the voice has to line up to the syllables.
You got to try to, yeah. And a great adapter, somebody who's translating that script and adapting it for English, is going to, they're worth their weight in gold, and they are completely undervalued and underpaid in the space, which is a shame, because a great adapter can save so much time in the pipeline and can make everybody look better. Because if, and I say this about writers generally, if the writing is great, the acting doesn't have to be that good.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, have there been times where you're doing a dub and you're like, the line that's written for me just doesn't line up at all?
Yes. Absolutely.
That sounds like a nightmare to then have to try to... Because you don't know the whole rest of the story and everybody else's lines necessarily, or like the big picture, so it's hard to just change the script.
I mean, kind of, because the line itself should be enough information about the intention of what's happening, right?
Sure.
Like, if the line is something like, I need to get down to the store today and I have to pick up 32 different things. But if that doesn't fit the flap, it's not really going to be a problem if you're like, I need to go to the store and I have to get 32 different things from there. Or whatever. That was a really bad example.
I
but if the flap worked better to change it to that nonsense sentence that I just said, that would be okay, because it doesn't really shift the meaning of the line that much.
Sure.
But it is sometimes about like, hold on, let me see if I can just sit on the syllable right here. I need to get down to the store, and then I have to pick up 32 different things. Like, because, but then how do you justify that elongated word? That's where more of the acting comes in.
Sure.
To be like, I need to get down to the store, and like that little extra, makes it seem a little frustrated. And as long as that matches what the intention of the moment is and what it looks like the actor or the character could be doing.
Is it more pressure because there's so many super fans that hate dubbed versions? To be like, I gotta make this just as good. Dub is hit or miss. It really is.
I agree. Yeah. And there's a lot of passionate people, but I don't think there's any more pressure because of their expectations than there is by just the general pursuit of excellence.
Sure.
Right? Because at a certain point, I think you also kind of have to get to a screw it mentality. Like, I'm not here for anybody else. I'm here to do as good as I can, because there will always be people that you can't please anyway. Yeah. One of my favorite Mitch Hedberg jokes is, you can't please all the people all the time. And last night, all those people were at my show. And it has really sunk in for me, because it's like, well, there will be people who hate what I do.
Yeah.
That's across the board with dubbing, interactive,
podcast, everything.
Everything. Like, whatever you do, there will be somebody that doesn't like that you cut your hair that way.
Sure.
I don't need to waste my time on that.
Fair enough. Okay, so then with video games and with English dub shows, like, how different is it? Because in video games, typically the interaction with the character is really like set apart. There's not a whole lot of interacting with others as much, generally speaking.
I mean, for a ton of different video games, especially if there's no PCAP, yeah, you're working alone and you're not getting the script ahead of time. You are coming in and it is an Excel sheet of line after line after line after line after line. And the director is insanely important in video games for keeping you in the world with context.
Yeah.
And knowing, like, okay, at this moment, you're running away from an exploding spaceship and you're talking to a compatriot who is probably about 600 feet away. You really, really have to project.
Sure.
And you're like, oh, okay. So, hey! Then that's what you're doing in that situation. But video games definitely have tons and tons of lines.
Do you record the most amount of lines in the shortest period of time then for something like a video game?
Probably.
Okay.
I think the number of cues is probably fastest, and the number of cues in dubbing is probably the slowest.
What's the longest you've ever worked on a project, on an individual one? Not like a TV show that went on and on, but longest you've worked for like one episode or one movie or one commercial or one video game?
Probably 3 weeks when I did a feature film on camera. It was the longest that I did for like one specific project.
Movie was that?
It was called I'm Not Ashamed. And it was
you were a like live actual actor and not a voice actor's actor. But you know
actual?
What I mean. But yeah, is that the only film
that's the only feature film that I did. Yeah, I in 2015.
That's on Disney too, right?
No.
Amazon?
I'm Not Ashamed. It might be on Amazon. I don't know.
It's on one of the streaming anyway.
Okay. In 2015, I watched Entourage for the first time.
Okay.
And I was like, doing movies looks fun. And so that was like February. And by May, I had booked a feature. So, because I had always been like, nah, I don't really want to do on camera. I don't want to do it. But when I decided, I'm like, no, I would like to try this out. Turned out I got this job, and it was a faith-based film centered around the Columbine shootings. And I played Eric Harris, one of the shooters. Strange experience. I had a great time filming it, but had some odd online interactions from folks who really sort of hero worship those guys, and that made me a little comfortable online. Which is, that's informed a lot of how I sort of engage on social media, which is not that much.
Sure. I mean, I've thought about that when I've seen other movies too, like with Edward Norton Jr. in American History X, where I'm like, and then there's many examples of that, where it's like, well, the actor is just acting the role. Mm-hmm. So really you can only judge based on, did the actor do a great job with this role or not? But the actor has nothing to do with what the character is, like on a personal level. They're drastically different things. So let me ask you this. I watched the thing that you got an Emmy nomination. Did you get more than one?
Just one.
One.
Yeah.
You got the one when you played Dudley in Ridley Jones.
Yeah, I love Dudley.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm great. I have the world's bravest friends. You all risked hoof and claw to save me.
Awesome character. I went and I watched that, and I saw that, and there's the controversy of whether or not it was canceled or whatever. When you saw that episode that came through, which was like something with the herd, I watched the episode.
Oh, yeah.
It got canceled basically, or the whole thing online with everybody was the fact that there was a non-binary character, which is this bison, who was in talking to their grandma and wanted to be called by the name that they chose, which was Fred.
My heart says that the way I feel most myself is to go by the name Fred. That's because I'm non-binary, and Fred is the name that fits me best.
I see no problems with it literally at all. But when you see the script come through for that, for a show that you've been on for 5 seasons and you like got Emmy nominated for, that's like one of your bigger roles. Did you have any thoughts about that at all at the time? Or when the backlash came, were you just like, I hadn't even thought about it?
You know, I'm a big fan of people are people are people are people.
Yeah.
And let's walk this world with kindness. And let's advocate for communication. Let's advocate for positivity.
Yeah.
Because in many ways, I think that episode was about empowering a young character to say, you know, I need to have a conversation with my grandparent, and I would like to share this. And having that be instilling in our youth that they should be able to communicate with their family, I think is great.
Yeah, I agree.
Regardless of the framework.
Yeah.
You know, I like the episode a lot. I wasn't surprised that it got the response that it got.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
When you saw that, were you worried about whether or not the show would be renewed? Was that even something that came across your mind, or were you just thinking this is probably going to be controversial?
I'm always worried about whether or not a show is going to be renewed because I love to work.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I didn't expect that to be a catalyst for cancellation or anything like that.
Yeah, because the show had won awards and stuff. Like in general, yeah, that's a bummer. Who has been your biggest mentor in the voice acting space?
Whoa. Mentor. Unwittingly, I think it was probably Rob Paulson because of his podcast. Like he hasn't been like...
That's the Talkin' Tunes one?
Yep. He hasn't directly been a mentor.
Sure.
But I used to run by the Hudson River in New York, and I think the reason I know how to do this job is because I got to hear his interviews and all of those stories with industry stalwarts. You know, Billy West, John DiMaggio, you know, D. Bradley Baker, who's here, is a legend. And then more directly, Bob Bergen has been really cool to work alongside, because we did do some group recording for Ridley Jones. And it would be this guy Tyler, me, Ashlyn, Bob, Lorraine Newman, who's an original Saturday Night Live cast member. So, you know, I would be up there and I would do my thing and I would finish my line. And then I would snap my head to the left to see what they were going to do. So that was definitely some mentorship, more direct. And Bob and I have sat down and had conversations about industry and about, just how you do the job. And he's suggested me for work, which has been wonderful. And I try to do the same when I can.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that comes down to networking in the positive way, not the like negative way people get this feeling. But it's like if you have genuine relationships with people, which is also why it's so important to be professional, but also just to be likable and like have actual personal conversations with people, because people want to work with people who are good at their jobs, but also people they like being around.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and they were like, I'm going to bring up the N-word. Networking. I said, no, I'm going to bring up the C word. Connecting.
Sure.
Connecting. There's something more genuine feeling about walking in the room with the idea of connecting with people.
Yeah.
And connecting with people, not connecting to people, connecting with people, as opposed to the connotations that come along with networking.
Yeah, I guess I always have the attitude of like, if this relationship were to like become a bigger one down the line, killer, but I don't have any expectation of that being the case, you know? And I've interviewed hundreds of people now over a bunch of years, and I have become very close friends with a lot of them. You know, I was just down in Milwaukee and stayed at this music producer's house, like, and we got Chipotle and hung out for the night. We didn't record anything. It was just like, we're just personal friends, and that's happened from a lot of them. And there's other people that I know are just like a business, you know, relationship, and I'm not necessarily going to text them to grab coffee. Not that I have any negative, you know, problems with them, but it's just, I don't have that expectation going into it, so I'm not disappointed by whatever the result is, and sometimes it ends up being really, really cool. Okay, what is the most recent thing that you've learned? Because like you said, you were learning from these other people and all these group things. Over time, you learn from these, but you still learn stuff, and people too often ask what's the biggest overarching thing? I want to know what the most recent thing is that you've learned. Could be life or career.
I have gosh. Oh, I had one and it just ran away from my brain. The most recent thing that I've been sort of naturalizing into my bones is that I can be relaxed. I can be relaxed in my career and not be not relaxed as in like stagnant, not like
not
like
being complacent.
Nah, absolutely not complacent. But I can sit and say, I think I'm going to be okay, which took me a really, really long time to feel. You know, in our industry, you see a lot of times folks will get like 2 credits and then suddenly they'll hang up their shingle and be like, I teach voiceover. Come here, pay me so I can tell you how to do this thing. And it's like they did 2 episodes of something that 3 people saw.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that they're inherently not a good teacher. They might be an incredible teacher.
Yeah.
But by and large, folks aren't that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've got, you know, trying to not to hurt my shoulder, pat myself on the back here. I've got a couple hundred episodes of TV now, an Emmy nomination, some ongoing work, a lot of time in union advocacy and things like that. I'm still reluctant to teach. I don't feel like I have the receipts, right? Which is weird because I just listed off some receipts.
Yeah.
But that hustle, that mentality, that feeling of like, has stayed with me. And that sort of, it's not really imposter syndrome because I never really felt like an imposter, but it is like, no, I have too much more to do. I have to really, really hustle, really, really hustle.
Yeah.
And it's like Lenny squeezing the bunny a little too hard. When I let it go, the bunny sort of just gets to frolic, and I get to enjoy watching the bunny frolic. So relaxing into what I'm doing and just being like, you know what? I'm here, and I've been here for a while now, and there's even a little bit of a groove in my seat.
Yeah.
I've started. If I have a relationship with a casting director and I have an audition for them that I'm really, really excited about, or I'd love to maybe get feedback on, I'm now at a point of comfort, and relaxation within the industry that I can be like, hey, I'm going to send you this. If you have any notes for a reread, I would happily do a reread for you. If not, cool, great. Or, you know, hey, I loved the way that you broke down the vocal characteristics on this. Just wanted to drop a note and say that's cool. And it's not opportunistic. It's just like, here I am.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it just comes down to being comfortable with like saying I'm enough.
Yeah.
Just as is. Because when we're at the beginning of our careers, there's all these motivational things out there that are just like, you can be anything. But that also comes with the whole connotation of like, but if you're not something, then you're a loser. Like you have to accomplish the biggest and the best, which is not likely, in all likelihood, probably not going to happen, but also not necessary for you to be enough or to be good or to be a professional, right? It's like once you get to a point where this is your career, whether or not you have 1,000 titles or whether or not you make 10 times as much income, you're still a voice actor as a career for your job. So you should not about being complacent, but being happy and content with like the pace of which your journey is on.
Yeah. I had a buddy recently who said one of his former agents like sat him down or they sat down for a conversation, and he was like, what's happening? I'm working in these avenues, but I'm not really hitting in animation. And his agent just was like, not everybody's a unicorn. And I was like, that is so mean. That is such a mean way to do it with somebody who should really be believing in you.
Sure.
Because there's a difference between saying that and saying, well, nobody's a unicorn until they are.
Sure.
I'm going to keep giving you horns until we get one that fits. And I believe we will find one that fits. That sort of positivity, instead of just being like, well, not everybody gets to do that.
Sure.
Because it's rare that people get to work in every facet of it, right? They get to do promo. They get to do interactive. They get to do animation. They get to do dubbing. They get to do looping. They get to do commercial. They get to do all of the things. That is rare. But to just say to somebody, well, you're not a unicorn, as opposed to saying like, well, nobody is until they are, so don't stress about it.
Yeah.
Just keep showing up and trying on horns.
Yeah, but I feel like in this maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is the case across a lot of things. Most people aren't unicorns because they don't try to be, because typically people find a lane kind of naturally, and then they're like, oh, this is what's working. This is where opportunities are coming. I'm going this way because this is what feels comfortable and feels good for me, which there's nothing wrong with that either.
Well, if you just want to be a horse, be a horse.
Right, exactly.
Be the best horse you can be.
But I think that happens with a lot of people. So really, I don't think when you get further in your career, there's that many people really trying to do that, which makes it almost more possible to do because there's not so many people trying to do that. It's not quite as oversaturated. And again, if you change your expectations or like let go of the expectation of like, I have to have the biggest role in each of these and say, well, I would be happy if I can get any role in this particular thing, and then I can kind of build from there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different story.
Just let me work.
Yeah, for real.
Like, I'll be the guy who says one line and be thrilled about it. I do that a lot for
Ferb.
Well, yes, but for Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Sure.
They'll bring me in for like Skateboard Kid or Man with Apple Cart or Man on Bench, right? Like it's that kind of utility stuff. And I'm thrilled because it's always finding a different puzzle piece.
Yeah.
I've always had such admiration for the utility players in voice acting. There was an episode of Tiny Toons where it's me as Hampton talking to me as Plucky talking to me as Chillest
12 roles
Cat
or something
for like the B plot of that episode.
Okay.
So it's me talking to me talking to me.
Cool Cat's younger than I thought. Excuse me, are you Cool Cat?
Ah, nah, man. Cool Cat's my dad's name. I'm Chillest Cat.
And I call that the Billy West Badge of Honor because of all of his work on Futurama, where he's Fry, Zoidberg, and the Professor. Bring in Zap Brannigan too, and he's just talking to himself, filling the scene. And I'm like, oh, this is incredible. That sort of versatility is incredible. And you don't have to have that kind of versatility to do to have a career in voice acting. But like, I'll take 50 roles on 50 different shows as opposed to one role with 50 episodes any day of the week.
Sure.
Awesome to have that level of consistency. Don't get me wrong, I'm always happy to be in an ongoing project.
I would love to see a business card that says your roles that start with like Ferb and Dudley and then all the variations of man number 2, boy number 3, roller coaster guy. Because you have like about 1 million. Okay, I know that you got to get back down to the convention.
Yeah.
So we'll just do one more question. I usually end the show this way. When you do something you're passionate about for a living, you get to have really unique experiences that are rarely financially driven, but they are what make all the hard work worth it, such as the experience you had at the con. Mm-hmm. Can you share another story like that for you?
Oh. The look on my parents' faces at the Children's and Family Emmy Awards. The just absolute pride. You can't pay for that. I mean, those tickets were expensive, and we did pay for them.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade that for the world. That's something that you work toward. You don't even know you're working toward it.
Sure.
And getting to see them, because they were like, well, we're going. Like, yeah, we're going because it is not every day your son gets nominated for an Emmy.
Yeah.
That was really special. That's the first thing that popped into my head with that question. I'm sure there's a million other things, but like finding a best friend.
Yeah.
What? Like, Vincent's going to be my best man in my wedding. Like, is it? Who gets to do this kind of stuff? The entirety of the experience, I am grateful for. So to call out any individual things almost seems unnecessary because there's that level of gratitude.
Dude, that's incredible. Let me give you a quick gift. The stickers, but then also those headphones in front of you.
Oh, dope.
From Skull Candy.
Whoa,
those
cool.
Are normally $59.95. They're fancy. They're gold, and you get to keep those.
Oh, thanks, man.
Give a shout out to where everyone can find you if they wanted to reach out and ask a question that we didn't have time for. Where's the best place to send a message? And then let us know what's coming. I know that Ferb, it is being rebooted, and that's talked
we're
about
back
on the internet.
Yeah,
so
we're back.
I think that's fair to say. I think it said online somewhere that there's 6 episodes that you're in. I don't know how much you can say.
No. They ordered 2 seasons.
Oh, wow.
And
20 episode seasons, long seasons?
Yeah.
Wow.
10 episodes are already up on streaming. They came out in June.
Oh, cool.
And then, so that's actually 20 segments. And then there have been 5 or maybe 6. There was a new episode this morning.
Oh, wow.
Airing on the channel. And I think, don't quote me on this because I don't know. I think I heard them say that the rest of what is airing right now on TV will wind up on the streamer in January.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it's back. We're rocking, and it's amazing.
Awesome. Again, where can people go find you? And if they wanted to get a message to you, what's the best way?
Your best way to probably get a question to me would be Twitter, because that's so front facing, and I can get tagged and then it'll show up. And that's at Errigo Voice, my last name, Voice.
ERRIGO.
Yep. It's a real crapshoot if you're going to get to me by messaging me on Instagram. I just happen to be lucky enough to see the request there for this. Don't find me on Facebook, because I'm probably not going to add you. I'm so sorry. I like to keep that a little tighter.
Sure.
But yeah, or if you see me at a convention, come by the table. We're not scary, and you're not obligated to buy something just to say hi or if you have a question.
Can you end the show by saying thanks for listening to the Passion Pod in the Ferb voice?
Sure. Thanks for listening to the Passion Pod.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Passion Pod. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll see you soon.